Good morning, my name's Riccardo Mariti. I'm the founder and CEO of Riccardo's Restaurant in London. We run our entire company using Scrum, from our kitchen, our front of house, our marketing teams, our accountancy. When we do outside catering, we do home delivery, everything's done using Scrum. We've modified the framework to fit all the different contexts because we've got a variety of different, it's almost like having different businesses within the business. And we are scrumming a Scrum constantly to improve what we do. The title of today's case study is how we try to reverse engineer the swarming pattern into everything we do when we're scaling Scrum. And Dr. Sutherland told me when I first met him that every great team he's ever seen had the habit of swarming. So that's been a major focus for us while we've been implementing Scrum. I started implementing Scrum at Riccardo's Restaurant last year in April 2017. To give you a brief history, I founded the restaurant back in 1995, and after about 22 years, we'd really lost our competitive advantage. We'd become quite a homogeneous business. Before we've been really state-of-the-art, we were out there doing stuff that nobody else was, and a lot of people, I don't say they copied us, but a lot of people kind of followed along the same track. And for a number of other factors, we were no longer very profitable. The biggest expense in the restaurant business is payroll. When we first started, I was running a payroll expense of 25%. And at the beginning of last year, our payroll hit 39. And this was mainly due to increases in minimum wage and changes with the inland revenue policy and how we deal with tips and so on. And it really had a big effect on us. But the situation wasn't sustainable. So when I returned from a Scrum training last year with Jeff Sutherland and Henrik Nyberg in Sweden, I decided to go all in and just remove all the managers throughout the organization. And I informed everybody that they had job security, but they didn't have role security. And the next morning we came in and we had a totally flat organization. There were no more managers. And that was my model. I'd kind of read Jeff Sutherland's book and I'd read Team of Teams, and I thought, yeah, I like the idea of that. That's what we want to create. So the number one problem we had was scheduling the teams. Historically, managers had taken about 8 hours a week per department to schedule how the teams were going to work and who was going to work and so on. We were open 7 days a week, lunch and dinner. We're doing brunch on the weekends and so on. So I asked the team if they'd like to have a go and do it themselves. You know, it's kind of weird when somebody's always told you when you have to work, and then it was just like, hey guys, you know, we're just a team now. You know, I'm the same as you. We're just going to come in and we're going to figure out how this works. And they really liked the idea. So I'll try and explain exactly how it worked. So you had this board here. On the left-hand side, you had all the job functions. And on the top, we had all of the shifts. As we said, your lunch, dinner, 7 days a week. Basically, we put a tick where we needed that particular job function on that particular day. And each team member then went through, if they worked 6 or 7 shifts, they would put 6 or 7 small post-its with their initials on them, and they took it in turns to go one at a time, and then they just line up one at a time until the board was full. And we managed to complete 4 weeks worth of rotas in 1 hour, which had previously have taken a manager 24 hours. And that was like our first glimpse of what could happen when we got together, we swarm around the board, and everybody was very, very excited by this. And it gave them the autonomy to make decisions when they worked. The real hidden value was that we discovered these hidden shifts. And by that I mean that sort of shifts that weren't needed by the company, but the team members, but needed by the team members because they needed a certain salary. And this had always been hidden because the managers were just doing the rotas and presenting them, and we hadn't worked out specifically on every single shift how many people were needed. We uncovered about 10% of hidden shifts, and that became the number one backlog item for the teams to sort out, their priority to try and figure out a way to make that disappear. So we agreed that the team could have as much holiday as they liked. The only proviso was that the team members had to find a replacement who had the same skill set as them. And so the side effect of that was that every team member had a vested interest in training the others to do their job. And previously, people have been very protective over their roles. You know, if I was a barman, nobody came in my bar and so on. But this thing is saying, like, you can take any day off you want, you can have as much holiday as you want, just make sure that those boxes are covered with somebody who can do the job. What we discovered, though, as people started to train up into other roles and having a multi-skilled personnel on the team, the combinations were easier to manage, and we were able to reduce the amount of shifts that we needed. By about 10%, that sort of magic number, so it came back. And we were able to give a pay rise to everyone, and our payroll costs have come down to about average 31%. So and it's still early days. But we are back in profit, so that's a good thing. Nobody has to ask for a day off anymore, they just find somebody else to cover them, and really team happiness has gone up dramatically just with this one thing. The next challenge we had was how to scale Scrum through the whole organization. I created a training based on short-term mini projects which would allow us to cover all the elements of a scaled Scrum. So these mini projects were designed to get the teams working together. They are tasks around the restaurant that need to be done. The task force is made up of a selection of members from all teams, and we have them self-organized into 2 or 3 new teams. We get them to allocate Scrum Master and Product Owner, run Meta Scrum, size and prioritize the backlog, and we simulate a week-long sprint in 5 hours. So we cover all of the Scrum meetings. Each hour represents a day. We put a work in progress limit of 2 jobs per team, which forces them to swarm. The teams then at the end of the training figure out how to implement the same structure and learnings into their day-to-day jobs. And these mini projects have sort of massively accelerated our ability to scale Scrum. Because actually finishing something in a 5-hour period, you know, and they kind of get to see the whole thing working. And each time we run the training, we boot up brand new teams, which is great for everyone to see. And every team member gets to experience a different role. So we really encourage everybody to take on a different role. And that seems to help them to understand how everybody else is working. But the third most important aspect of swarming in dealing with our biggest is in dealing with our biggest constraint, which is we only make money when the restaurant's full. You know, when we've got customers in a restaurant, when there's no customers in a restaurant, we're not making money. So at that point, we have to subordinate everything to guest service. And I found that in the past, we had managers were doing a lot of admin, you know, in service, and I'd find them downstairs in the office even when the restaurant was full, because 5 minutes ago it wasn't full. And now we got 3 parties all walked in at the same time, and there was a big lag, and that was a massive part of where we would have customer service problems. So to cover the busiest time, every team member, no matter what team they're on, is on call from 12:30 to 2 p.m. and from 6:30 to 9 p.m. to eliminate any impediment that could stop a server being available to serve a customer. We have created a new culture. It is everyone's job to make sure that we exceed customer expectations, no matter which team we are on. So on a busy lunch or dinner, an accountant or somebody from the marketing team will be answering calls or clearing tables. The result is that customer satisfaction scores have raised from 74% to 91% in the last 2 quarters. There are a lot of other things we've done, a lot of other patterns we've implemented, and I'll write up a proper case study, detailing them all. That's it.
Thank you, Riccardo. First of all, I just want to say brilliant application of Scrum outside of the normal place that people expect to find it in software or in hardware. Just, scrumming as management. It's just absolutely, I think self-scheduling, for example, is very interesting. Did you do is there any analysis you did on the labor savings, the cost savings of going from 24 hours of a manager doing it to the 1 hour of the team doing it? Do we know like a direct cost?
Yeah, well, managers, I can give you that number in a couple of minutes.
I'm just wondering. Also, on one of your slides you had about the teams, and then there was a parentheses, FOH, K, and M.
That's front of house, kitchen, and marketing. So it would just be, we'd have people from, I think traditionally in a restaurant business, you've always had these really seriously siloed departments. Don't come in my kitchen for a waiter, or waiter. They just didn't understand each other, and we just broken down all of those barriers and trying to get people on different teams working together. I had some other slides I was going to show you, but it sounded like they had a team picnic last time. They were playing football. So it's kind of really integrating the teams and getting them to understand each other's roles.
And about how many staff do you have total?
We have 32 in this restaurant.
Because I know usually people are trying to grab the weekend shifts when they know there's
there was actually that came from Henrik Nyberg said to me when I was talking to him on the phone. He said, "You're going to get over the euphoria of Scrum, and then the deep issues are going to come up." There was this thing, and there was my youngest team member who was actually on. She paid her life savings to become a certified Scrum Master under Jeff when he came to London a few months ago.
Wow.
And she's 17 years old, and she put her hand up one day and she just said, "You keep saying that there's a fair system here. It's got to be a fair system. It's not fair. That person there, okay, they got 3 kids, but they're coming in late and leaving early. All the people who've been here longest are taking the best shifts." And that all came out. We had sort of pandemonium for about 2 weeks of a lot of counseling and sitting everybody down. But they figured it out. You just let them, hey guys, we're working as a team. It has to be a fair system. And to give her credit, the lady who's got 3 kids, she said, "You're right, 100%. I'm going to come and close." And she's been closing more than the others just to show. So I think that whole thing of transparency and allowing the team sort of, I've always had a tendency to try to interfere, but now since learning Scrum, it's kind of stepping back, letting them get on with it, but just facilitating the process has really, really helped, I think. So.
That's great, because it's a very common question we all get during trainings is, well, how do you handle these issues? And the answer is you let them handle it out. People say, well, how do you handle if one team member is slacking or something like that? And the answer is the team will figure it out. You don't have to micromanage that part. Very good.